Just chatting with our next guest. Charles Milliard is here. And if you don't know the name, you're going to probably hear a whole lot more of it in the coming days and weeks and months, because he has decided among so far only one other confirmed, or two others, I'm not even sure what the number is anymore, to run for the leadership
one
of the
so far.
Yeah. So the one is Denis Coderre.
Right.
You're number two. Fred Beauchemin has talked about it, but he's not officially confirmed. So first of all, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You've not been to CJD before.
I've never been, so first time.
Kind of nice to have you.
And hopefully
here.
you're going to invite me multiple times in the coming months.
Not if you don't answer your phone and say you're coming on. It took us a while to get you here. So let me first of all ask you, for people who don't know, you have a rather interesting track record, not only in politics, but many, many other things. Most recently, the Quebec Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Commerce, or Chambers of Commerce.
Right.
You were president of that association?
Yep, for the past 5 years.
Okay.
So there's 125 chambers of commerce throughout Quebec. So, and I've been managing the whole entity for 5 years.
Yeah, and we were talking, as I said during the break, you're quite an underachiever. You have an MBA. You worked as a pharmacist. You've done a lot of different things. But I read in your bio, you've been involved politically since you were a kid, basically.
Yep. Well, I used to be in the Youth Commission of the Liberal Party of Quebec back in 1998. In the riding of Lévis, which is not a very liberal place to be.
Yeah.
So I used to be involved for a couple of years, but then I've always been liberal. I mean, once you know me 5 minutes, you know that I'm a truly believer in the Liberal Party of Quebec. But given the different jobs that I had to be more neutral at certain times in my career. But it has always been in my heart and in my mind.
So you're a lifelong liberal, and then one day you wake up and you say to yourself, I would like to be the head of this party. How did that happen?
Well, it didn't happen in a day. I think I've been thinking about that for a year, I would say. I knew that I would do some politics since I was a kid, because I love the job. I love the game that is surrounding it. And there comes a times when you know that you want to go into politics, and then timing is important. And I'm seeing my party low in the polls. It's not where it should be. And given my experience in the private sector and at the Federation of Chambers of Commerce, I think this is time for a true renewal at the Liberal Party of Quebec. And I think that given my age, given my experience, given the fact that I come from the economic sector, I think I can bring something interesting to this race.
So let's start with a couple of things. Number one, as I said off the top, the only confirmed other candidate right now, which is not to say there won't be others, but for now, is Denis Coderre.
Yep.
Have you heard from Denis Coderre?
Yeah, I spoke to him back in January. I've known him for 10 years, so he's somewhat of a friend of mine. I think he was a great mayor of Montreal, but now I think it's up to him to demonstrate how he can be renewing the party.
He told Pablo Rodriguez, who's also a friend of his, it would not be a good idea for Pablo Rodriguez to run. He should run for mayor of Montreal. What did he tell you?
Well, I'm gonna let the Liberal Party of Canada bickering to others, and I'm gonna concentrate on Quebec.
Did he say something? Did he encourage you to run?
He was okay with me running. I think we all want to have a race. So
he didn't tell you not to run, did he?
No.
Okay.
Did not.
Okay. So let me touch on a couple of things.
Yep.
We had Antoine Dion-Charest here about a week or so ago with this idea that seemed to come from, I don't know where, but I know it was from the planning committee within the Liberal Party, this idea of a Quebec constitution.
The political commission or something, yeah.
I've read a lot of comments since then, and not a lot of it is positive. What's your take on this idea of a Quebec constitution as he's been pitching?
Well, I think it's interesting that they're putting that in the spotlight, because we're going to need to discuss this in the coming months. It's not going to be a central part of my platform, but I think it could be interesting in some ways as to, assembles all the different legislations of Quebec in the constitution. You know that British Columbia has a constitution too. But I know there's a lot of hesitation from many Quebecers and many Liberals too. So we'll be debating that over the next months.
It's interesting that the reaction I got and what I've seen since seems to almost play it as a Quebec constitution which would be divisive for the province, because francophones in this province would look at this and say, oh, here's that English Liberal Party. How does that? How would something like this constitution, should you in fact vote to include this in your platform? How do you attract Francophone voters? Because we know the Liberal Party can't win a provincial election without Francophone support. What's in it for them?
Well, I think it's a gesture of national affirmation, that could be interesting. But I don't think, again, this is what Quebecers and Francophones are talking on the bus every morning. So I want to discuss more about economic development, about transportation, more than about constitution, to be honest.
So let's talk about some of those issues. One of the things that gets talked about a lot lately is healthcare and the terrible shape that it's in this province.
Yep.
You know the whole debacle now with the OQLF directives, what's supposed to happen in hospitals, despite what the minister has said is not going to change. What's your take on that?
Well, CAC has been very divisive on the issue of language when it comes to healthcare and everything. So I want to say to all the listeners that I'm here and I'm going into politics to protect all Quebecers. I think we can promote and defend the French language and at the same time protect our English-speaking community rights and freedom. So I want to be there to protect that. So I think what happened 2 weeks ago is just total nonsense. And from what I understand, a lot of people from the English community has not been invited to that specific meeting to discuss that. So I think it's not a good idea.
Does that become the kind of a thing that, if you're a leader of the provincial Liberal Party, that you stand up in the National Assembly and defend the rights of Anglos?
Of course. Short answer and true answer, of course. Yep. Yeah, and I come from Lévis, I'm 44 years old. I come from Lévis. My parents come from Bas-Saint-Laurent. I have family in Mauricie. I lived in Montreal for 20 years. Now I live in Eastern Township. My parents don't speak English at all. So I come to Montreal, and how come someone like me understand that the English community and all the different, cultural communities are a true asset to Quebec? And what my parents are listening on TV and from what Mr. Legault is saying is just totally false about the divisiveness of language in Quebec. So I want to be out there and talk to my people about how important it is to protect each and every one in Quebec.
So you mentioned a minute ago the economy. That's always one of those issues that's going to be front and center in an election. With respect to how things are going here now, what would someone, like Charles Milliard suggest we're doing wrong, and what should we be doing differently?
Well, I think we hear a lot about Nordvolt and all big projects when it comes to economy right now, but 95% of the enterprises in Quebec are SMEs. I think we need to hear more about SMEs. I need
small and medium-sized businesses.
Yep, that's it. So we need a new fiscal plan to help SMEs to succeed, so that people can open businesses throughout Quebec, in our different city centers, in our different main streets throughout Quebec. If we want to occupy the territory of Quebec, we need to have people, young and not young, to open and be happy.
How do you do that?
Well, by fiscally, I think there's a problem. I think we need to be more open to economic development by having more fiscal opportunities in Quebec.
The government is running the biggest deficit ever, I think, in Quebec history. I think it's going to be somewhere around $13 billion.
11, 12, 13,
it keeps
and
going
counting.
Up. Yeah. So that's one of those things where, when you first hear it, you sit back and you go, wow, I thought we were in better shape than that. But then again, the government can look at the pandemic and say, well, we're not fully recovered. Is that legitimate for you? Could you ever see a Liberal government running a deficit that big?
Well, when we left office in 2018, there was a surplus of 7 billion. So obviously, the Liberal Party, being the party of economy, we want to be tight on spending. But again, we want to promote economic development so that we have new fiscal revenues that can finance our social development in Quebec. So we want to be pro-economy, but at the same time pro-social development as well.
So the one last part I want to bring up is education. We heard from the education minister last week, from Bernard Drinville, telling us there will be 5,700 teachers short to start the school year. And this is even better than last year, if you can believe that, but still an incredibly high number. What do you do in terms of education? What do you think needs to be done?
Well, obviously, the education system is broken, and I think we need to have a common discussion on that. And so the Youth Commission at their annual conference last week voted for what we call in French a Commission Parent 2.0 to discuss the future of the education system. I think we've been short on real social discussion in Quebec in the last 6 years, and I want to bring back people all around the future of education with a Commission Parent 2.0, for example.
Last thing I will ask is about healthcare, which I brought up before, but I think back, the nurses union, the FIC, which has now been over 500 days without a collective agreement with this government, which last time we talked about it, I said was an incredibly embarrassing situation for a government to be involved in, with people on the front line in healthcare. What would you do differently there?
Well, again, I would sit with them and I would settle this. I think they've been talking through medias for 500 days, and I think it's a total nonsense. I was having a discussion with union leaders this morning, and I think it all comes to discussion and to finding common ground and not doing small politics with that. I know it sounds like very like an easy answer to give, but I truly believe in consultation and in discussion with people.
It's funny you say that because I've said on more than one occasion that seems to be the last thing this government wants to do is consult with any group. People find out about these decisions by the CAC more often than not through the media. They don't even sit down and have a discussion, on a one-to-one basis. So that's something you would want to do.
Of course.
Okay.
Totally.
Couple of things real quick before we go. Big names federally have been talked about as potential runners or running for leadership of the party. Among them, Pablo Rodriguez, Francois-Philippe Champagne. You're not talking about federal politicians involved in provincial politics. That's always going to be, a payday for the opposition here to simply paint them as federal liberals. What do you think of that? Do you think that is that a plus, a minus? Do you think it's going to happen?
Well, we'll see what happens, but it changes in no way my plan to be in this race. I've always thought there would be a lot of people in this race. I think it's a prestigious job. I think it is the oldest political party in the history of Quebec. So I think it's quite something to become leader of the Liberal Party of Quebec. So we'll see what happens. I know what I'm made of. I'm going to be meeting with Quebecers from all regions in the next 10 months. And you know what? I'm going to win this.
I wish you luck. It's a pleasure to meet you. I thank you so much for coming in. And don't be a stranger because I'm going to call you again. You don't have to come in. We can do this on the phone if that's easier for you. But people need to get to know you as well. So
I'll be back.
At least on the English side.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Charles Milliard, one of two candidates, that's all, officially so far anyway, to throw his hat in the ring for leadership of the Quebec Liberal Party.